Welcome everyone to Coffee with the Kingpins. I am very excited to once again join with Simon Chukorsky, my good friend and Vedic astrology teacher. Welcome, Simon. How are you today?
Great. Thank you for having me on board yet again. Your pleasure cruise through the spiritual and nebulous waters leading to
Yes.
enlightenment. So happy to be here. The Carnival Cruise.
Yes. Well, we were actually talking about it. You were talking about some um the Saturn Neptune aspects that are going for a month that kind of makes you question mark.
Yes, so right now in the sky as we speak, Saturn and Neptune are conjunct, and that's whether you look at Western astrology, Vedic astrology, doesn't matter. Same planets, they're up there. And they're talking to each other. And Saturn Neptune is a bit of a nebulous connection. The positive side is it gives you the ability to put your dreams into reality.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you're into manifesting, if you're into even going deep to find out what is my purpose on this planet, why am I here, and then creating that reality for yourself. This is the time. So it's great for that. The flip side, the negative side, is that it can cause confusion. It can cause depression
Right.
because not knowing your purpose, not knowing, um, why we're really here, and no one is knows 100%, right? But we're all trying to put the pieces together. If anyone tells you they have it all figured out, run the other way, right? Um, and the answers are usually pretty hard, as we were talking off camera a second ago, that most of the spiritual teachers, when they had their own hardcore students, they put them through a lot of stuff. Jesus and his disciples went through a lot, right? The Buddha and his own inner disciples and so forth. So the teachings for the masses are very nice, they're very sweet, but when it comes to the real work, it can be rough. So Saturn Neptune makes you in touch with that reality, like, oh my God, I've got so much more distance to cover. It makes you see your own stuff, which can be
Right.
depressing. But the good side is that um, it sort of opens the veil. So you can look inside, but you can also see the good stuff and start manifesting more of that. So
Right.
that's going on for the
So
next
let's
month or
shoot
so.
for that. Let's shoot
Let's
for
shoot for that.
manifest.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So,
yeah.
I wanted to get a little deeper, as I'm sure a lot of our viewers are not uh, very knowledgeable about astrology. I'm sure some are. But since we are both kind of very passionate about the compatibility of two people coming together, can you share some of the most, I mean, couple of maybe six or seven aspects in two people's chart that can really determine uh, a good relationship between the two?
Yeah. So I think we should even go one step before that and talk about, is there such a thing as a soulmate? And
Right.
if so, what does that mean? Does that mean there's one person for you and that's it? What if that one person dies? Then what? What happens? Or what if that one person is 50 years younger or older? Or they're somewhere halfway around the world and you can never meet? Um, That's one view of soulmate. Like there's one person. I don't take that view. I take the view that we have soulmate families, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like food. You have a, a certain buffet of foods that are good for you that you like, and if you eat that food, you're happy, you're content. But if tomorrow they don't have that food, maybe there's another food that won't, it can't replace this, right? It's very different. But, so let's say pasta with whatever your favorite sauce, but then there's, I don't know, ice cream. Then there's, pizza, whatever,
Apple pie.
or apple pie, right? And they all have their unique, beautiful qualities that satisfy you in some way. And so I think the thing about human existence is there is no, in my opinion, there's no one person who is going to fulfill all of your cravings, all of your needs for sweet, sour, tasty, bitter, astringent, and pungent, all the six tastes. Um, uh, and so, from that point of view, there could be a number of people with whom you are compatible. The question is, will you meet them in this lifetime? And then, if so, um, what are the issues that you want to work on? Because there will be issues with everybody you meet. So,
Right.
getting that out of the way, what are some things we can look at? One of the things is, are you two running similar periods? So in Vedic astrology, we have what's called a planetary period that sort of, it's your track, right? So, when you go to college, are you in a science track? Are you in an arts track? Are you in a sports track? Are you in a, I don't know, humanities track? If both of you are on a similar track, which is seen by the planetary period, so if I'm in a period of Saturn, you're in a period of Saturn, that gives us, aligns us. Okay, so that's one thing that's important. The closer our tracks are, the more powerful the connection can be. Sometimes, even regardless of what your personalities are, you can be very different. You can even be incompatible on terms of personality level, but because your tracks are both going in the same direction, this can be a powerful uniting force. And we can easily see that in by just looking at your horoscopes.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. You want all of it, right? You want all the secrets. Okay.
I wanted to actually interject, going back to soulmates, because I think that there are people that we come in our lives that, and some people more than others, I feel, that you have a karmic connection with, that you have come from a past life situation to work something out. And those sometimes you go through a certain period and then it ends once you've learned your lesson. So I look at
Those are
that a
called
little,
cellmates that you're
right?
doing prison time with, right? Because you have an obligation. You're stuck
Yeah,
together. And you come
exactly.
together, whether it's you because your ancestors or your own karma, whatever.
Right.
And then once that's over, you're done.
Yeah, go on.
So there's
So I look at
soulmates and then
that a
there's
little different.
cellmates.
Yeah. I looked at the cellmates are a little different from soulmates.
Yes. Yes. And but what even that can be measured. So we
Yeah.
can see that in two charts. And that usually is a lot of the outer planets and the nodes, what we call the invisible players. So Rahu Ketu, the nodes, and then Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And some people can even use Chiron. Those are invisible to the naked eye. So they are unconscious, subconscious forces pushing you or pulling someone else to you to get together in a relationship for some unseen, unclear business that needs to be finished.
Right.
Now, that's okay. There's not, actually, on its own, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you also have the stuff on top, which is the compatibility, your personalities, your tracks are aligned, your moons, your communication is good. If all that is good and you have this powerful pull, then you are soulmates, actually.
Right.
That's one of the things we look for. But if all you have is the outer, the invisible stuff and nothing else, then you're
Right.
cellmates because
Right.
you're in this prison. You have how did I get here? It's like that song. How did I get here? Who? What was it by David Byrne? Um, Talking Heads.
Right. 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 Right.
Who is this my beautiful house? Is this my beautiful wife? And you're like, how did I get here? What happened? And that's exactly what happens. It's the outer
Right.
planet. So we can also quantify that to some degree.
Yeah. So before I rudely interrupted you. You were talking about the second important thing between two
Well,
people.
that's one of them is what we call karmic glue. So
Right.
we could put that on the list. There is no definitive list of the top five things. That's more like for YouTube, the top five compatibility factors. Um, there, some people, some go on the list, some others, but one that we found, believe it or not, statistically, I never would have guessed, never in a million years, that this would be a top compatibility uh, item is what in Vedic astrology is called yoni, which is the sexual compatibility based on a 2,000, maybe older, 3,000-year-old metric that measures the two moons to each other. And the way it does that is it gives your moon a spirit animal and it gives your partner's moon a spirit animal. And if those spirit animals get along, then it means
Right.
that you guys will get along on the animal nature, your carnal nature. And surprisingly, what that has shown is that most long-term married couples have very high score in that.
Yeah.
And of course, we measure that not just from the moons, but also from your ascendant. So we it's a way to double check.
Right. And number
Okay,
three.
so that's a good one. Um, well, and then we want to make sure that you bring out the best in each other. So Romeo and Juliet may have been very compatible, may have even had great sexual chemistry, romantic chemistry, but they just were not good for each other. They caused each other's death and the death of their families. Not consciously, but it happened, right?
Right.
So it's what we call what am I to you? What do you bring out in me? So we measure your planets compared to your partner's planets and see which areas of your life do they bring out? Do they bring out happy experiences or do they bring out suffering, secrets, jealousy, and so forth? And again, that's something we can quantify. So, for example, for the astrologers out there, if my, say, three planets are in your eighth house, then
Right.
what that's going to do is you're going to experience scandal, depression, suffering, and you're going to blame it on me, and not without reason.
Right.
But if those same three planets with another person go into their seventh house, then they're going to see me as partnership material,
Right.
marriage material, right? So it's a very cool thing with just the shift of one ascendant. You go from having a very difficult experience to a very positive relationship experience.
Right. Well, we've also spoken about like sun moon connections, if you can go into
Sun
that.
Moon is the oldest one. Yeah, astrologers have known about this for a long time because Carl Jung did studies in the 40s, 50s, or 60s, and he published them with 800 couples, and he found one of the top things they had in common was a sun-moon connection. He did it within 15 degrees orb, which is reasonable. To me, that's actually not the most powerful, but what it indicates is that you've been family in a past life. So if you believe in
Right.
this past life stuff, you've known each other, but not necessarily as husband and wife,
Mhm.
right? Maybe as man and his dog,
Right.
or right, woman and her cat. I don't know, or
Or
brother and
maybe
sister.
father and son, or
Any
yeah.
permutation, or you two were in a ditch somewhere fighting, against a common enemy, right? You
Right.
were stuck, but you had this bond that
Right.
is very, very deep. So
Right.
Sun Moon shows that that's still there.
Right.
Whether that turns into a long-term marriage or it still depends on a lot of other factors, but that
Right.
is a common factor in long-term relationships. Yes.
Well, what I was actually focusing more on was aspects like Venus, Moon. What does that mean? Like
Anytime you bring in Venus and Moon, Venus
A
especially,
to Venus, what does that mean? And so,
yeah. So a relationship can be based on one of four cornerstones. The first is the ascendants. So the ascendants are my personality gets along with yours. Like my schedule and your schedule work. Our habits are similar. We both play basketball. We both, are athletic, or we both do this, right? And some relationships really work on that level. The next level is Venus, which is mutual tastes and so forth. So if we're talking romance, you want Venus connections. Venus Moon is what we call the true love combo. It's very sweet. It's the Disney princess kind of thing, like the Disney movie. Venus Mars is like a rated R Disney movie because you add in all the sexy stuff. Can you
does Disney
imagine a
have
rated R
rated
Disney
R?
movie? That would be cool for the adults, right?
Right.
So you can have Sleeping Beauty G and then Sleeping Beauty rated R. And it's like, okay, Prince comes and it's not just a kiss. There's more
We should
going on.
strengthen that suggestion.
It's not a kiss that wakes her up. Anyway, um, that's Venus Mars. But see, the moment you even talk about that, it brings that energy into the light. And one step above that is Venus Pluto. So Venus Pluto is rated X, right?
Right.
So it said that one author on a Western author on Vedic on astrology and then partnership said that if your husband or wife has their Venus within 3 degrees of some other person's Pluto, get ready for divorce papers because
Right.
that attraction to them will be so powerful. Um,
But
now it
we were
doesn't have to.
actually discussing, I think, a while ago about, it's also important as far as the evolution of each individual, like where are they with their growth?
Right. So look, if you get a young soul and you get an old soul, and let's say they're very compatible, you will be compatible, but at some point you're going to run out of things to talk about because the old soul has certain interests and the
Right.
young soul will have other interests. They're going to want to party and do this and that. The old souls be like, sorry, baby, that's not my jam. Right. And so, um, yeah, so that is an important factor that really we can't quantify. You just have to feel it and see it in a couple.
What would you say, what kind of an aspect is a sudden spark when you meet someone and you feel that
Sudden
butterfly?
spark is usually Uranus. Uranus is involved. So my Uranus with your Venus, Moon, or Ascendant um, can be K2 as well. Can be
Yeah.
Rahu. Then so the nodes as well. Sudden spark. Um, Sometimes it can be Pluto. Pluto is not a spark. It's more of like a nuclear explosion. Like
Right.
you just get around this person, all of a sudden you're like, I can't stop thinking about them. And just your day just takes on a different quality. But um Uranus is different. Uranus is more like an excitement, you know? Like, oh
But
wow.
it's usually short-lived though, right?
It can be, but short-lived is different for different people. Short-lived could be 2 years.
Right.
For one couple, it could be 2 weeks for another.
Right.
So it depends on what else is going on. Do they have compatibility? Some of the other factors we talked about. Do they have sun, moon? Do they bring out the best in each other? Are they on parallel tracks? And so forth.
Right. It was also interesting because I think a while ago we were talking about Hugh Hefner, and that's another thing to look at individual charts as far as are you capable of being in a relationship or
So to your point, Hugh Hefner has Uranus exactly conjunct his seventh cusp. I mean, exact, which means that this is a serial monogamist. This is a
right,
person who can never, probably ever in their life, be happy with just one person. They will be with one person for a certain time, then another person, they're like that. That's serial monogamy. And yeah, and that's not the only thing. He has got like half a dozen other things that we looked at, right? He's got the Venus Mars curse.
yeah.
He's got all kinds of dual signs, debilitated planets. So it's literally the perfect storm of this man cannot really settle with one person.
So what is the Venus Mars curse, if you can explain?
Astrologically, in terms of Vedic astrology, so if you're looking at the Western tropical chart, you may not see this, but it's when because of the difference in zodiacal degrees. But in the Vedic chart, when Venus and Mars are 212 to each other or 6-8 to each other, like this or like this.
Right,
Um, and that is a scenario where no one person can fill all of your needs,
right,
intellectual, emotional, physical. So you tend to look for, or you tend to look for someone else to fill that, or you live with the sort of not disappointment, but with this idea that, hey, I'm going to settle for a person that I like, that I love, understanding that they're not going to fulfill every part of me. And that's
right.
okay. That is an evolutionary spiritual thing that a Venus Mars cursed person will have to make. It's a psychological.
So I just wanted to clarify 212. That means one planet, let's say Mars, is in your 11th house and Venus is in your 12th house. That would be 212.
Correct, but by sign, not by house.
Right,
So we're judging them by sign. So
right,
roughly 30 degrees apart on either side,
right,
right?
right,
Or
right.
in conjunct, which is
So
about
since we're
150.
talking about compatibility, I'm very excited to ask you if you could share the new website that you have where people
Sure.
can, yeah, and find their match.
Well, we've been working on this for over 5 years, and we love to bring it to people because the goal of all of this, knowing what these combos are, knowing all this data that we've accumulated, is in the real world, is just to help people find love. And so divinelovematch.com is the site. And basically it allows you, it gives you three options. You can get the software for yourself and you can start matching people.
Right,
You can connect with compatibility experts. So I'm going to click on that. And in any language, anywhere around the world. We have certified experts all around the world, be it in French, Portuguese, German, uh, English, Canadian English, British English, all the Englishes in India and Spain and so forth, and even in Sarasota, believe
that's
it or
right.
not. But beyond that, the idea is so that's if you want to be matched or if you want to find out about your compatibility with anyone. And your initial consultation is free, first 15 minutes to find out, hey, do I like this person? So there's really no obligation, right? You just click, book it, and check it out. You can also become certified to do this, which we just finished up the certification for 2025. Price goes up later, but basically, you can become part of our team, and so that's an option to you as well. Um, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions about it, but this has been a long time coming.
So basically, someone that has no knowledge of astrology can go there and put their information, their, I don't know, date information and come up with a report.
You, that's not this site. So no, this is if you want to get a consultation or so we're working on that site.
Right.
Um, but this is for if you wanted to get the software. Yes. Let me go back to what you said about no astrology info. The more
Ah,
you know, the better, but you don't need to know a lot.
right.
And what I found is that people who who know nothing, when they're motivated to learn the subject, like I teach my sports prediction class, I get these guys in 40s, 50s, smart guys, no knowledge of astrology. Within 6 weeks, they're speaking all the lingo, like they know astrology.
Right.
It's crazy because they're motivated, right?
Right.
Now, the site you're talking about is actually Sizzle. This is an experimental site where we've trained an AI. So if you don't care about any of this and you rather just talk to an AI and not really bother with a human person, you can actually go to sizll AI, and there, you, this is actually powered by crypto. So you'll have to have a Solana wallet. But if you do, then you can go and enter the data of who you want to look up. And here I have Rachel and Ross from Friends, by the
Right.
way. And it gives their total relationship score, compatibility, and so forth. And then the best part is you can ask questions like, do you think we're soulmates? Do you think
That's
we end up
great.
together? So you can talk to her. The AI's name is Siri. It's a little play on words because Siri, but it's Sizzle, so it's anyway. And so she'll talk to you. Yeah. So that's Sizzle.ai, but you're gonna have to have a wallet that holds some of the sizzle token, it's like
Right.
even $5 worth. It's not a,
Right.
doesn't require
And if you
much.
want to get more in depth, does this also give you that option or not?
There's a limit to what the AI knows, to be honest with you. Like this is the first iteration of the AI, and she can, she can give you some information.
Right.
To get the full, there nothing replaces a human, to be
Right.
honest, nothing.
Absolutely.
So having a professional session is the best, and some of these are not at all expensive, but yeah, this could be a first step, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's go, it's interesting because I know that in anything one does, you're constantly learning and there are opportunities to uh, learn more new things. So my question to you is, what has come up for you by teaching these courses? Some things that have really made a big impact on you.
Carl Jung used to say that everything I've learned from my patients.
Mm.
And he's absolutely right. Everything I've learned from my students because I'm actually pretty lazy. And even though I have certain skills, I don't study as much as I should. I find that the real world gives me the best experience of working with people and working with, because I don't see clients anymore, working with students. So it's everything. Um, Yeah, I mean, even in college, I never studied for tests. I took the test, and the test was what taught me
Mm.
what I really need to know. And
Okay.
so I didn't get the best grades, but I actually learned the material. So 2 years later, I can still talk about it. So yeah, I'm weird that way. Um, so what have I learned? I mean, any number of techniques. But I think the main thing I've learned is this stuff is harder than it appears because you're always going to see a case that doesn't fit into the paradigm.
Right.
And even if you've read all the books, there'll be a real world person or couple or a game, like a sports match, that'll be like, nope, I don't
Right.
fit into any of your. And then you got to go, okay, back up, scratch your head a little, be humbled by the fact that you missed that,
Right.
and try to figure out why. And so, in encountering so many puzzles from clients and students, I get new techniques. I
Right.
learn new stuff. So I learn more from real world than from books, even though you
Right.
can see how
Right.
tiny my library shelf is, but
Sure you
maybe
have.
that's
I've seen your real library. It's much, much bigger. Much, much bigger. No, I was actually something came to my mind. I know that so I was part of the first certification, which was a couple of years ago. And I remember that as we were discussing, because sometimes certain things comes to one intuitively, it just triggers something. And I think you were kind of, I mean, Delano was already out there, but then you were like, oh, I'm gonna, fine tune this. I'm gonna put this aspect into, the program because, or Moon Mars aspects that had come up. I think it was one of them was K2 Venus that had
to
come up.
Venus, right? So that was already in the app, but it came up with some students, and it was brought to my attention, and so, that hey, maybe this is a cause of long-term relationships. So then I gave it to our statistician guy to look into it,
That's right.
and he verified that it's promising. Like it doesn't guarantee, and nothing, no one technique guarantees anything, but that it was promising and worth looking at. And so we added that as a factor,
Right.
as one of the many factors that could lead to long-term relationships.
I
The
think the
sense of
other
that
one, was
faded
it Sun
connection.
Saturn? That was a big
Sun
surprise.
Saturn, there's another one. So that was in the app. We considered it a negative connection because it has to do with harsh discipline.
Right.
But we found that in a lot of couples who have longevity. And so when you think about it, the couples that can overcome harsh circumstances, like being poor
Yeah,
for a while or, having bad health for a while, it actually makes you grow stronger and tighter if you can
right,
survive that
right,
stress. So
right.
Saturn's sun is the stress aspect, which can lead to breakups. But once it's like a bone or a muscle, once you stress it, it grows bigger and stronger.
Stronger. Yeah. Interesting. 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 So, anything more? Any golden nuggets that you like to share this morning?
The world is full of
This
golden
afternoon?
nuggets. We have to have the shovels and the bags to be able to carry them. So I think that's good for today. And developing the skills to use what we have. Like just the last couple of classes, we had a lot of really good nuggets um, that were just came up spontaneously out of questions. And so
What
the
were
best
they?
nuggets are in our live classes where we have interactions like this, and we're looking at charts.
Give us
But
an example. Any examples you remember?
oh, examples of
Golden
some
nuggets.
gold. Well, speaking of gold, gold is represented by the sun. So, one of the very basic meanings of the sun is it brings light into your life. So, a couple that has strong sun connections, my sun to your Venus, my sun to your ascendant, etc., works by you just light up each other's lives. Now, I don't know if this is a golden nugget or not because it's part of our protocol, but knowing what you bring out in a person is important. Like if my Saturn's on your ascendant, I'll depress you. If my sun is on your ascendant, every time I walk into the room, the it seems to get brighter. So, but here's a golden nugget. Okay, you brought this out in me.
Getting it out of you.
All right,
Golden.
all right. If so, okay, we're going to start ladies first. Okay, how to know if a man is into you, if you're a lady. This is
Right,
for your loyal listeners who sat through everything we just talked about. Then we're going to give them the nugget at the end. All right.
right,
This is what I'm talking about. All this stuff comes out in real conversation. All right. If you're a woman and if you want to find a man that you know is going to be attracted to you, is going to be into you, doesn't matter what you look like, how old you are. This is great for all the women, the 99% who are not supermodels.
right,
Same for the men, right? Who are not six pack, whatever. So you know your birthday. Your birthday is based on the position of the sun in the horoscope. So if you were born, October 15th, your sun is at a particular degree. What you want to find is a man whose Venus is at the same degree as your sun.
hmm
Or, no, so that will be one day of the year. But the good news is you can go 15 days on either side. The more powerful, the closer it is. So let's say you're born October 15th, um, then you would have to find a man whose Venus was at the same degree as your sun within, let's say, 5 to 15 degrees on either side. So that gives you about a month span, but also 6 months away, same span. So
right,
first thing, find, let's say, so what's opposite October 15th? November, December, January, February, March, April 15th.
right,
So you'd have to find a man whose Venus is either very close to your sun or opposite your sun.
right,
That man, if you're heterosexual, will be attracted to you. It works for same-sex marriage
right.
partners, by the way, too. If you're in the feminine, the receptive role, let's say, archetypally. Let's switch over for a man. How do you know if a girl is into you? There's a sneaky little secret. All you have to know as a man, and this is where I guarantee you all of the men, teenagers out there are going to learn astrology just to get this trick because this works. but it's also a trick
Right.
in the sense that it's a hack. Um, find okay, you know when you were born. Okay, so let's say it's October 15th. Uh, by the way, in Vedic astrology, that puts you at 10 degrees Libra sun. In tropical astrology, that would be about 24 degrees Libra, October 15th. What I'm talking about here, you could do in both. I'm speaking about it from the lens of Vedic astrology.
Hmm.
So find where your sun is. Okay. All you have to do then is find a girl whose Mars is at the same degree or opposite within a week on either side. So check this out. There are actually books called ephemerides,
Yes.
an ephemeris that shows you where Mars is in the sky for every month of every year. So you're going to go back at least 18 years, right? Because you don't want to be with someone who's a minor, unless you're a minor, in which case, congratulations. If you're 12, 15 years old and you're watching this, you're way ahead of the game. So you're going to go back and find when Mars was within a week or two of your sun's degree, and then when Mars was within a week or two opposite of your solar degree. Women born in those dates will find you attractive around the world. Now, are there other factors? Yes, of course. I'm isolating one thing, but this is a hack that creates primal attraction in women.
So let's underline it. For a woman, you look at the degree of the Venus's moon to your sun, and for a
No, no.
man,
So if you're a woman, all you need to know is find where your Venus is. That's
right,
your job.
right,
Find your Venus. Okay. Let's say it's 10 degrees Aries.
right,
Then this is much easier. Then you're going to want to find a man whose sun is at 10 degrees Aries.
right.
He
And
will
for
be
a woman,
massively attracted to you. Now, how do you know that? That's easy because in the Vedic, I'm talking about the Vedic sidereal horoscope now, okay?
right,
That will be um, April 25th.
right,
So men born within a week or two on either side, or two max, but let's just keep it at a week on either side of April 25th, boom. But also 6 months away. So April 25th, May, June, July, August, September, October 25th,
right.
a week. Those men who have those birth dates will likely find you attractive, regardless of what you look like, regardless of ethnicity, race, age, and so
Right.
forth.
And for a
Now,
man,
so for a man, does the same thing, but with Mars. Man
right,
has to find his Mars position, okay? And let's say that's at 10 degrees Aries. Then find a woman who was born when her sun was at 10 degrees Aries, give or take a week.
right.
That's it.
I just wanted to underline for those who like get got overwhelmed at the
If
beginning
you
with
have
the news.
questions, leave a comment. And if you have like a specific example, just put your info in the comment and we'll try to answer it.
Absolutely. Well, Simon, this was delightful. Thank you. And thank you for helping me with my challenges beforehand.
Saturn, Neptune. It's going
I know.
on for everybody. So
Well,
we have to be
thank you.
patient.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this interview. And as Simon mentioned, if you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. And we will see you on YouTube and Rumble. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye bye.